What's going on, guys? In today's brief video, we're going to react to Josh Kesselman's 2-minute short form video where he provides some advice on taking tolerance breaks. If you don't know who Josh is, he's the founder of Raw. I think anyone who smokes weed is familiar with his brand. This guy, and rightfully so, is like a god in the 420 community. He's highly energetic, has an amazing personality.
My cousin asking me to go for a walk on Thanksgiving.
And quite honestly puts out some great social media content. Obviously, he's a brilliant businessman, and I have nothing but respect for him. But in today's video, we're going to talk about tolerance breaks, and we're going to react to a video that he put out on Facebook just the other day.
It's time for your lesson in tolerance break survival. This is something I never wanted to teach, but I love you, so I got to teach it to you before the knowledge goes away.
Something I love about this right off the bat is that such a big influencer in the 420 community is actually taking the time to talk about tolerance breaks. One of the things that I talk about on my channel is, although I am very, very pro 420, I think one of the most dangerous things for the 420 community is not talking about tolerance breaks, not talking about addiction, not talking about the fact that smoking weed 24/7, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year might be a bad thing. So I love this.
Now, first of all, the reason why you need a tolerance break. Okay, certain 50-state legal plants happen to very much stimulate your CB1 and CB2 receptors. When that happens too much, your brain basically depletes them. It takes them away, trying to achieve homeostasis. And if you go too far with this, not only do you have a high tolerance, but you might end up with possibly CHS.
I think it's awesome that he's even mentioning CHS. This stands for Cannabinoid Hyperemesis Syndrome. These are people that experience symptoms of constant vomiting, malnutrition, muscle pain, body aches. The only thing that relieves the pain is taking a hot bath. And basically what he's saying is one of the potential causes, or one of the hypotheses behind CHS, is that you've kind of downregulated your cannabinoid receptors in your body to such an extent that these receptors are no longer active, or as he describes them, they're just gone. And the idea is that then this results in cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, which is a terrible condition. And the last thing you want to do is fry your cannabinoid receptors, because your endocannabinoid system is responsible for regulating digestion. It's responsible for mood regulation, sleep regulation, pain modulation. Your endocannabinoid system literally plays a role or has influence in almost every other system in your body. So that's why when people develop CHS, everything is like completely out of whack. You definitely want to avoid this. And as he just said, if you get CHS, it's basically like having to take a lifelong tolerance break. You can never smoke weed again.
3 scary letters, man. It basically means you're on a lifetime tolerance break and you can never smoke again. Dude, that would fucking suck, right?
Now, I just want to backtrack on something. For those of you guys struggling with THC addiction, I think one of the problems is we view it as, oh my God, this is terrible. I can't believe I have to give up weed. And a lot of people who struggle with CHS are under that mindset of, oh my God, my life is going to suck. Everything's going to be horrible now that I gave up weed. And I can tell you from working with a lot of people who are in recovery from marijuana addiction, as I am, they actually find that life can be much better. Remember, your body produces its own natural chemicals that you can get high on, especially when you don't have the presence of cannabis. So if you do have CHS, realize something, your life isn't going to suck without weed. I promise you that. That's what we help people with here.
Here, we got this though. It's okay. We're going to bring our tolerances down, and we're going to take care of each other because we love each other. First of all, CBD and CBG. Yes, you can smoke them. They are your friend. CBG, I thought, was a no because it also stimulates your CB receptors, but it actually helps strengthen them, an expert told me.
So that's really interesting what he's saying. And we're talking about a tolerance break. Something that we got to be really clear on here is we are not talking about CHS. He transitioned topics. I'm worried some people with CHS are going to think, oh, he's saying I can smoke CBD and CBG. And that is not the case. Any form of cannabis can trigger CHS symptoms. So if you have CHS, you do not want to consume these products, CBD, CBG. If you're just taking a tolerance break or you're simply struggling with THC addiction, these things might actually help you out during that time. At least that's what literature is currently showing. So I agree with him, just as long as you're not misunderstanding what he's saying.
And again, by the way, a lot of this is wrong. Don't sue me, dude. Stop suing me. I'm tired of that shit.
He probably gets sued all the time having the size of business that he has, and it has to be such a headache. That's probably why he consumes so much cannabis.
Water. Increase your water intake by at least 50%. If you are a caffeine person like me, increase that too, dude. Now's the time to give yourself a little bit extra love. You know what I mean? Let yourself have some more caffeine.
I can't imagine this man needs any more caffeine than he already has based on his energy levels, but he's absolutely right. Water, tea. Personally, when I was taking a tolerance break, or if you are entering a period of sobriety, especially if you have CHS, I would highly recommend avoiding caffeine. For a lot of people who struggle with CHS, caffeine seems to trigger those symptoms, including things like dark chocolate and whatnot. So just keep that in mind.
Exercise. Even though you're not in the mood, do it. Trust me, it'll make you feel better. Trust me, it does. And omega-3s. Omega-3s, you can get the pills down at your local health food store or whatever. They actually help rebuild and strengthen your CB receptors, it is thought.
I would agree with all this. There is research out there that shows omega-3 fatty acids are an excellent thing for your endocannabinoid system. Obviously, staying hydrated is super important. If you have cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, restoring and replenishing those electrolytes is crucial. We encourage our patients to freeze ice cubes of like Propel or sugar-free Gatorade or something like that and suck on those throughout the day for hydration purposes. But that's great advice.
So therefore, increase your omega-3s, valerian root, and chamomile.
As far as the supplementation goes with the valerian root, be careful if you're on anti-anxiety or antidepressant medications. Valerian root might interact with those.
This is especially good during those first 72 hours of hell. And if you ever had a tolerance break, you know what I'm talking about, dude. Most vivid dreams of your life.
That's important what he just said, 72 hours of hell. One of the things we tell people when they're quitting cannabis or if they're going on a tolerance break is get through 72. And if you're at a point in your weed smoking journey where you can't take a tolerance break, where you can't get through the first 3 days, 3 to 7 days, that's a major red flag. At this point, you have to consider that you might be struggling with a cannabis addiction and that you might need a lot longer than a 2-week tolerance break. You might want to give yourself a break for the next 3 months. And if you're struggling to do that and you're like, oh my God, I can't quit, quitting is impossible, you might want to consider doing a few sessions with our offices or looking into something like Marijuana Anonymous to try and figure out if you are in fact struggling with a THC addiction.
This helps mitigate that, trust me. And then meditate. Meditate helps you bring your mind back to the state you were in when you were able to enjoy. You know what I mean?
Meditation's great. And in my opinion, meditation can provide a high of its own. One of the things that you should look to realize when you're taking a tolerance break, and this is why I don't personally feel 2 weeks is enough time if you're trying to quit smoking weed. If you're just doing a tolerance break and you're not trying to quit, fine. But I don't know. I think when you take a tolerance break, this is a great opportunity to try and reconnect with different aspects of your life that weed may have drawn you away from. And what you might find is that you actually enjoy my life more without cannabis than with cannabis. Now, obviously, that doesn't apply to everyone. That certainly wouldn't apply to this individual here. He's obviously hyped on weed. And, you know, as far as I can tell, it sounds like he has a great quality of life. So good for him. That's awesome. But that doesn't apply to everyone.
And the last thing is, do not use the Eric method. Eric basically drinks himself into a stupor every time he takes a tolerance break. That's not how you get through this, man.
That's phenomenal advice, especially for those of you guys struggling with THC addiction. And if you're someone who does this, who quits weed and then picks up more nicotine, quits weed and then starts to drink more alcohol, that's a clear sign that you're struggling with a true addiction. And why are you doing that? Why are you drinking alcohol? Why are you picking up some other substance? Chances are it's to alleviate the withdrawal symptoms, both physical and mental. So if you do this or you fall trapped to that, you really got to ask yourself what it is this tolerance break is all about. Is it really simply a tolerance break, or is there something much more serious going on?
Be strong. We got this together. Knowledge gets us all higher, and together we're going to be enjoying every little bit again.
that was a great video overall. Very positive. It had some really good information in it. I just wanted to clarify the aspect about CHS and consuming CBD or CBG or whatever it was. You absolutely don't want to do that. And for those of you guys that are struggling taking tolerance breaks, I want you to consider that you might have a THC addiction. And if you're struggling with addiction, you might want to consider getting help for that. And if you need help, there's a free course on quitting in the video description below, along with a bunch of other resources. This was a fun video. I like this guy.